There we go. We're up. We're
Sweet.
live. Welcome to the Best Damn Podcast, special sit-down conversation with Smitty. Smitty Thinks He Knows, a brand new podcast that just hit the market about what?
A month ago.
About a month
Yeah.
ago. So we've been sitting here just bullshitting and talking about stuff, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go ahead and take a live. I know we said 7:30, but I was like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go ahead and go at it. So.
Wouldn't want to miss out on 3 minutes of conversation, would we?
No, you wouldn't want to miss out 3 minutes of conversations because we were just sitting here talking randomly, and I'm like, all right, this guy's really cool. I got it. Let's just go ahead and screw it, take it on. So how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, whenever you said 7 o'clock, I was like, man, that's really close to my bedtime. So I'm just glad I'm still awake.
So you go to bed early, huh?
Roughly. I get up at 6, so I go to bed, whenever I get tired, which is around 9:30.
Wait a minute. How old are you?
38.
You're 38. I'm 40, and I go to bed at 11 o'clock, get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that.
It ain't fun, I'll tell you that much. You need a lot of coffee and a lot of energy drinks to get through the day, but shit.
Well, and I had found when I was a lot younger that we'll call it my mental health, is affected by how much sleep I get. And so back in the day, I worked at FedEx loading trucks, and I would have to start at 3:30 in the morning. I was also going to school and working a whole nother job. And I was also 18, 19. And so I wanted to go and hang out with all my friends until 10, 11 o'clock, midnight. And then I would go and sleep in my car in the parking lot of work. And then my boss would come out to my car, beat on my window, wake me up. And then I would go into work. And then if I had the rest of the day off, I'd go home and go to bed. But if I didn't, I'd go to school or go to my other job. So I burnt out on that really quickly, and then I found 8 hours of sleep. So I always earmark 8 hours of sleep.
8 hours of sleep changed my life. Yeah. I had a friend of mine. Her and her girlfriend. She was working when I met her at Lincoln Land. She was going to Lincoln Land full time. She was working at what's that gas station there across from the Target? Is that Huck's or
Yeah.
She was working at Huck's, and then she'd go and work at McDonald's, and she would do the same thing you did. She'd sleep in her truck and lock her truck up really hard. But then she was always trying to make the money because her and her girlfriend, when I met them, I had no idea they were lesbians, and I had a crush on Chloe. I was like, this girl's pretty fucking hot. And then when I found out she's a lesbian, well, shit, I know how to pick them. No luck on that. But they got a house out near Chatham. They got like a house they were renting, because Maxine came out of the closet, and her parents rejected her over that. And I was like, I can't believe people still do that this day and age, So
How long ago was that?
Oh, God, that would have been 2010, 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, so then they moved down to Florida, and I had to go pick them up. What does Casey mean she's dead? She's a freaking glory hog in here already. There's Cooley. But yeah, I mean, the hustle's hard. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes you want to go, you want to just sleep, you want to lay down. Me, I get home, I gotta fix dinner, I gotta see how the missus is doing, walk the dog, blah blah blah. It's like by the time I get home, I got a second breath of wind. I gotta play a video game after a while,
Yep. Yeah. No, I totally understand. I had a boss at one point that said you have to set a time that you turn off, and if that's 5 o'clock, it's 5, but you have to, you got to shut down at 5 o'clock. And it's not like a hard, fast rule. I mean, we do events and shit like that. So, turning off at 5 o'clock is not always reasonable, but I try to do that as much as possible because that's just, somebody said, you either you got to decide, are you working to live your life or are you living your life to work?
It's
And
good rule to live by. Yeah.
yeah, and so you gotta decide, like, what are you doing this for? And don't get me wrong, like if you're following your passion, work to, live your life to work. Um, but if you're just doing it to pay bills, you gotta make sure that you're putting your life um priorities above your work if your work doesn't make you happy.
Yeah, especially in this day and age where it's like society is just hurry up and go, hurry up and go, hurry up, do this, hurry up and do that. I They have restaurants and retail stores open on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then that is ridiculous. It's like, dude, those people need to go home, need to be with their families, they need to go put their feet up. You got Black Friday for fuck's sakes, let them do Black Friday, but no, it's the whole society is hurry up and wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that this is probably the most relaxed holiday season I've had with Fired Up. Every year it's like, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, and I've only got until Christmas. I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I got to sell, 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 sell. And then this year, I just kind of realized that all the dominoes get set up before Thanksgiving. If you didn't get your dominoes set up before Thanksgiving, there's no point in struggling to try and get it done before Christmas, because you're just going to stress yourself out, and being stressed doesn't sell more jelly. So
Right. So what do you currently do? You said you used to work at FedEx.
yeah, I worked at FedEx like, Jesus Christ, like 18 years ago. You know what? I told you I was 38, and I just realized I'm gonna be 37 in a month. Wow, my brain has been
Wow.
Jesus Christ. But no, so now I currently own Fired Up Jellies and Jams. We do strawberry habanero jelly. Goes really good on ribs or chicken, salmon. We mostly use our stuff as like glazes on meat. That's how I use it, and so that's how I promote it. We've got a peach cinnamon habanero jam that has won 4 awards. It got first place in the Scovie Awards, and it goes really good on pork chops or turkey sandwiches, meatballs. Earlier today, I was doing a tasting at a Kroger, and I was sampling it out on pumpkin pie.
Ooh.
And then, so we've got the 2 spicy ones, and then we've got one that's all sweet, and it's a strawberry vanilla rhubarb jam. And that one is just good by the spoonful.
So you make your own jams, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty successful?
This is how I put it. We've had lots of successes. I wouldn't consider us successful.
You wouldn't consider, well, okay, you're making money, aren't you?
My bills are paid.
Your bills are paid. You're successful. There you go. That's what matters. As long as you're not starving, or you're behind on your more. I don't know if you like live or own or rent, but as long as your bills are paid, you're good.
Yeah, no. Well, and I make that distinction because I'm not done yet. You know what I mean? Successful is like the end goal.
Right.
Success to me, successful is when you can take a step back and enjoy it all. And I'm still in the grind. So, but the reason why I say we've had lots of successes is because, we've got 3 great products. We've got award-winning products. We're in 250 accounts across 13 states. Mm-hmm. I went full-time with it 2 years ago, and I haven't been evicted yet. So I'm doing something right.
Something is working there. There you go. So yeah. I would say you're successful, but you're saying you're not. I'm saying it's like, look, you're self-sustaining. You can pay your bills. You can buy your own groceries. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, everything after that's going to be like growth. It's going to be like, now I'm going to start making this, making that. Then it's going to just raise your growth income, So then you'll be able to sit there and do like the expensive vacations or whatnot.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Now
Can't wait.
you're based out of, where are you based out of, here in Illinois?
Yeah, so I'm in I'm in Carbondale. I grew up in New Berlin. And I came down here to go to SIU. I got a degree in philosophy and a degree in classical literature. Um, Wanted to go to grad school, but about the time I was going to go into grad school was about the same time that Illinois decided that they were going to stop funding higher education. So
Yeah.
my funding for grad school, I'm a high B, low A student, and when funding gets tight, you have to be a straight A student. So yeah, I didn't make the cut. I couldn't get funding, so I was like, I'm gonna go and get a part-time job. I got a job at a liquor store. After working at the liquor store for about a year, I snagged a job with a distributor. I worked as a part-time merchandiser for 5 years. I watched 27 salesmen come and go, and they wouldn't give me a promotion to sales rep. And I started Fired Up Jellies and Jams in the process. And I would definitely say that whenever I started it, I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder because they weren't hiring me up to sales rep.
Right.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and prove all these guys wrong, or I'm going to show them that they missed out on an opportunity, and ended up just creating an opportunity for myself. And I will say I hated my job. Like, I really hated my job. And it wasn't that the work was bad. I mean, the work was all right. It was selling my back, selling my labor. That's basically what it was. But I didn't like that. Well, I watched 27 sales reps come and go, and I never got promoted up. I had come up with I was a merchandiser, and they had hired other merchandisers, and they wouldn't ever make any of us full time. And I had a suggestion to reroute all the merchandisers' routes to make them more cost effective for the company.
Right.
And then my boss brought in another guy from a different warehouse, and made him my boss, my merchandising boss. And I was a little upset about that, because I felt like he got, promoted up past me when I'd been in the grind doing that job before he had been. And then they rerouted all of our merchandising routes to make them more efficient for the company. And my boss took the credit for it, and I called him out on it one day, and he said, well, what you're going to have to realize is, in this business, that's just going to happen. And I'm like, okay, well, now I know who you are and what this is. So
yeah, no kidding. So now it's like, okay, I see how this is. I'm going to start looking for another job. Screw this,
yeah.
There's so many businesses that do that this day and age, where they literally you get hired in, and they're literally like, we're going to do whatever it takes to. They sit there and they claim there's growth in this company, there's expansion, there's a place to go. But once you get into a dead end job, it's literally a dead end job. You can't go anywhere else.
But this is the thing, and I appreciated that job. I appreciated that I hated that job, because hate is a really good fuel. It burns hot and it burns fast. So it's not a sustaining fuel, but it got me to light a fire under my ass and get fired up off the ground. And then in 2020, when the pandemic hit, so I was working for this liquor distributor, right? And during the pandemic, liquor sales went through the roof, right?
Oh, gee, I wonder why.
Well, and part of that, I'm not so much sure that people were drinking more, or if habits shifted, right? Because if you're not going out to the bar, then you're buying more, and you can't just buy one beer at the grocery store. You're going to buy a 30 pack, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
And so what ended up happening is all the sales reps basically their day got cut in half because they didn't have to go to any of their restaurants. They just had to do the grocery stores. The drivers, their day got cut in half because they didn't have to go to any of the bars or the restaurants. And so they just had to deliver to the liquor or to the liquor stores and the grocery stores. But my day increased tenfold. And I couldn't get any of the sales reps or any of the drivers to help me with my load, even though their loads had gotten cut in half. My load had basically doubled, and I couldn't get any of them to help me. And so they were having me work like 12, 14-hour days. And it was just, it sucked. It sucked really bad. And then, and then finally one day I was like, I got to quit. I got to get out of this. This is affecting me in such a way that working on Fired Up outside of work, I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. It was just burning me out. And so I was like, this isn't good for my company. And so I quit, and I'd put in my 2 weeks, but I mean, I was so burnt out and so stressed that it was like the second day of my 2 weeks, I was in my first account and I was just cracking at the seams. I was like, I just hated this job, and I wasn't getting any help. I wasn't getting any credit. I wasn't like, there was nothing. It was just show up, do your fucking job, go home. And I couldn't do it anymore. And so I texted my boss. I was like, hey, I tried to do this full 2 weeks. I can't. I got to take care of myself. This is what I've got left of the day, and I'm out. And he said, okay, and took care of it. And then as I was walking, I got to my car, and I was about to drive away. And one of the accounts that I had just opened up like 2 weeks earlier texted me and was like, hey, we sold all of that you just gave us. We need some more. And so that was like the universe saying, you did the right thing, and we're going to provide for you. And so I've really just kind of put my faith in the universe. I let the universe know what I want, and I try to be patient and listen to the universe whenever it tries to tell me things. And yeah, that's kind of what I rest on at this point, is like, just kind of doing what I feel is best. And either you get positive reinforcement or you get negative reinforcement, and, you just keep sticking it through.
So when you say the universe, I take it that means you're more of a spiritual kind of person.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go into that conversation,
well, I mean, we don't have to if you don't want.
Oh, I don't have any problem with it. This is the conversation I don't get to have that often. No, so I had I got a philosophy degree, right? Mm-hmm. I moved down to Carbondale, and the weekend that I moved down to Carbondale, I moved down here on a Friday. And that Saturday night, my brother got into a car accident and passed away.
Oh, shit.
And so I missed the first week of classes. And then whenever I got back, my brother just passed away. And I had done, I had smoked weed, and I had done some things, and I was already kind of interested in what is it that the world, what is real, what is truth, what's actually going on here. And I'd have a lot of conversations with people, and they were all like, you should check out the philosophy department. And I'm like, philosophy? What is philosophy? I had no idea. I got all these people who I'm talking to, and they're like, you're having a philosophical question or philosophical conversation right now. That's what philosophy is. And so I got into the philosophy department, studied the ancient Greeks and ancient philosophy, and found that I was coming across a lot of the ideas that they had 2,500 years ago. And I was just naturally coming across these things by thinking about some of it. And To bring this back around, so I would consider myself a Christian. I don't call myself a Christian because I feel like a lot of people have done throughout history. A lot of people have done some pretty horrific things in the name of Christianity. And so calling myself a Christian isn't, I don't want to be associated with that. However, this is what I'll say. My religion is Smittyism. And this is the way that I view it is Jesus Christ, his religion, or the religion they claim he was, is Christian. So they basically took what he preached, what he believed, how he went about his world, and turned it into a religion. And so what I've done is something similar. It's completely unique to me. It doesn't mean that I don't agree with others or whatnot. I just don't adhere to a solid doctrine. I'm willing to change my views if good evidence is provided. Personally, I'm more of a pantheist. I don't know. Do you know what a pantheist is?
You believe in the pantheon, the Greek gods, I believe is what it is.
No. So a pantheist is pan means all in ancient Greek or something like that.
Okay. So you believe in all religions.
Yeah, and so I believe that if what I call it is the all being or the everything. So if you were to conceive of everything that ever existed, ever will exist, ever has existed, and then also the things that haven't existed, so also the void, right? That's the all being. That is everything. And to me, that is God.
Okay.
It's all of it together. And I think of as the universe, this whole thing is just one big chemical equation that's trying to find equilibrium. And so I don't have it all completely flushed out. I'm still struggling with, like, is there free will, or is it all determined? I don't really know. I don't know. I struggle with that because so there's a philosopher in the 15th century. His name was Spinoza, and he has a really good line. And he's also a pantheist, but he took the Christian God and he was a pantheist, which isn't a popular view. But there are some sects of Christianity where God is the everything. And that's what Spinoza was. But his thing was, one of the things that he said was, the only reason why you believe that you have free will is because you're ignorant of your causes. And so the argument for determinism is basically, do you believe in cause and effect?
Yes.
So if you were to know all causes and all effects, all of them, then you would see that everything is determined.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. But at the same time, it's really interesting because when it comes to like the concept of free will, I sometimes think that maybe humanity kind of walks a borderline between the ability to have free will and what's predestined. Like, for example, you just lit up a cigarette right there. That's your free will. You starting up your jelly business could be destined. The problem with religion is there's a lot of what ifs and what nots, and maybe humanity as a species is not allowed to know all the secrets of religion. Like, I agree with you on the whole, what'd you call it?
Pantheist.
Pantheist. I agree with you on the pantheist thing. I'll be upfront with you 100%. I'm a Mormon.
Okay.
But we go by Christianity as well because there are different sections of the Mormon church that, well, let's say South Park is based more upon them and not on what I'm based on. We don't do the polygamy thing. Look, trust me, if I was a polygamist, I wouldn't even want to do that. I don't even know how I keep the fiance I have upstairs now. I couldn't handle a second or third one. No, fuck that.
I heard, I was watching TV the other day and I heard the show called Ghost, and one of the characters said something to the likes of having multiple lovers takes the pressure of being the one to provide all of the needs off of you.
Yep. And plus, I don't want that evil because, I mean, everybody wants to sit there and say, oh, yeah, if I had 3 or 4 wives. No, you know what happened? Number one, that time of the month's going to sync up at once, and you're really fucked. Number two, one of them is going to get jealous of the other, and then they're going to become friends, and they're going to tag team you. And number three, guaranteed, out of the 3 you get, that's going to be like, what, 5, 6 kids? Oh, your bank account is dead.
Wasn't there that one Mormon that's got like 28 wives?
Oh
Didn't they
my
do a TV
God.
show?
Yeah. What was his name? Shit. I remember you talking about. I don't even act like a Mormon. I don't even act like I'm just sitting here dropping curse bombs left and right.
Yeah, no, Mormonism is really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's what is the difference between Mormonism and I don't know how to phrase that.
I'm the first Mormon you ever met, ain't I?
No, for surely not. I live in a college town. I'm sure
I'm sure there's got to be some. The difference between Mormonism and I can tell you, the best way to say it is what Mormonism doesn't believe in. Number one, Mormonism does not believe in some hidden planet out in the stars, which is technically really heaven, and is also the plot for Star Trek V. We don't believe in that. We don't believe that Joseph Smith was a saint or a second son of God or whatnot. We believe he was just someone who discovered it and was shown by God, look, this is the real church here. This is the church you want, you know? And even then, Mormonism doesn't really refer to itself as a true church anymore. The thing with religion is, if you think about it, and this goes with what your belief is, every religion is correct and every religion is incorrect. Every religion believes in a higher power. Most religions believe in that Jesus was a savior, and that's about it. It's just how these religions go about, executing that belief. The thing with Mormonism is that we are very, very similar to Catholics. And Casey wants to sit there and say, oh, I can't have caffeine. I'm popping open a Mountain Dew right now. I know Mormons that drink more soda than I do. Shit.
My whole thing about religion is so when it comes to talking and dealing with other people is like, so you're Mormon. If I believe that you believe in Mormonism, I will operate with you better. But if I also understand what Mormonism is enough to condone it, then I will operate with you even better, and we'll be able to connect even better. So my thing is I accept all religions as true, but I practice none, if that makes sense.
I would say the one religion, and another thing before I continue, some people believe the Book of Mormon is like the real Bible. It's not the real Bible. It is further stories of how God touched people's lives. Everybody gets that wrong. They think the Book of Mormon is some kind of second Bible, or the original Bible is not. I would say out of all the religions I don't believe in, and I think like I said, all of the religions are correct except for one, and I would say that's the what is it, the Pastafarians, where they believe in the flying spaghetti monster.
Okay.
I'm sorry. If that's a religion and that's really what God looks like, I'm going to eat God because I do love some good fucking Italian. And that's got to be some heavenly tasting Italian.
But you can understand how, if you said that to a Pastafarian, how they might be a little offended by you saying that you would eat their God.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting about Mormonism is it's just the latest addition to the Abrahamic religion. So
it really is. Yeah. Let's see. Mormonism started like right after, I believe, the Civil War.
Yeah, about the 1870s.
About the 1870s. So yeah, it is fairly recent compared to something like Catholicism or Judaism.
So so it's all about whether or not you believe the canon is closed or the canon is open. And so a lot of people don't even understand how Abrahamic religions came about. But so there's Abraham and all the children of Abraham, right?
Right.
And then you come to Moses. And after Moses, then you have Judaism. And so far into what Moses started, they decided, you know what, that's it. That's all God ever told us. We just have to stick to this plan and go with it. And then a couple hundred years later, another guy shows up and says, well, that's not all God had to say. His name was Jesus, and Jesus was like, we should operate in the world with love and compassion. And and so Judaism, they closed the canon after Moses. With Christianity, they open the canon back up to add things that God attributes, and they say that Jesus was our Savior. And then the whole Christianity thing popped up out of that. And then about 800 years later, someone else said, well, now God's going to add some more stuff, and you get Muhammad. And so they continued, they added to the canon. And then, about 1,000 years later, then you get Joseph Smith, who added to the canon. And so basically it's where you are is where you decide God stopped talking to us. Now, don't get me wrong. There are sects of Christianity that still have an open canon. I don't know if Judaism has an open canon, and I don't think that Islam has an open canon, but I could be very wrong because there's a shit ton of sects of Christianity, so I'm sure there's a bunch of different sects of Islam and of Judaism.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to religion, the hardest thing is that you mentioned earlier there's certain things that like Christianity has done you don't agree with. One of them I'm sure would probably have been the Crusades, I would say. Oh no, wait, that was Catholics, wasn't it?
Well, the Crusades I'm conflicted on. So the reason why I'm conflicted on it, well, actually, so this is one of the first things that I don't like Christians for is so in 300 AD or so, Constantine, who was the Roman emperor, had a vision. Christianity was growing, and the Roman gods. Let me take one step back. So in Rome, what would happen is whenever Rome would conquer a land, what they would do is they would tell the people of that land, you don't have to change religions. You can still believe in whatever religion your culture believes in. You just have to pay us and also pay homage to our gods. And for the most part, that was fine. You could coexist. We're not saying yours isn't real. We're just saying there's also these other gods. Mm-hmm. And Judaism had a problem with that, which is why when in that's why Pontius Pilate may have been the governor when Jesus died, but it was actually the Jewish priest that put him to death. But there was a separation, right? And so I lost my place. Where was I going?
I think you were at the Romans were allowing other areas.
So Constantine, right? What happened is Constantine decided he converted into Christianity, but then he made Christianity the state religion. And part of the Christianity that they implemented was you can't have a belief in any other god, right? No belief in false idols, right? And so then they started persecuting anybody who still believed in the old gods. And also with that, what they would do is start censoring philosophical ideas. They would start censoring other gods. They would start censoring other cultures. And really just completely eliminated anything that didn't align with what they deemed was Christianity. And that actually led to us plummeting into the Dark Ages, which some people don't realize this, but so the fall of the Roman Empire happened, anywhere between 300 AD and 500 AD. And after that, it got so bad where there were places that just forgot how to blacksmith. Like blacksmithing would just disappear. Because Catholicism, the Holy Roman Empire, had they realized that knowledge was power, and so they wanted to control all the knowledge. And that's one of the major atrocities that I think Christianity dealt to the world, because it stunted us. And so during the Middle Ages, during the Dark Ages, Plato and Aristotle were lost to Western civilization. And this is why I'm conflicted about the Crusades, is because though in the West, Plato and Aristotle were completely eradicated, the Persians actually held on to the knowledge of the ancient Greeks and Greek philosophy. And so whenever the Crusaders went to the Holy Land, what they ended up discovering was they rediscovered Plato and Aristotle. And if you know anything about Plato and Aristotle, Aristotle is known as the father of science.
Right.
And so had the Crusades not happened, science would never been brought back to Western civilization.
It's a very good point. So in a sense, something good did come from the Crusades, which, if people don't know, the Crusades was that was a long ass time ago. Like, it was, who was the king that was trying to get back the Holy Land? They were trying to retake Israel from
well, the first crusade was in, do not quote me on this. Like,
yeah, I'm having a brain fart too. I knew this. I think it was 1013. I knew this kind of stuff too, and I've had a long day, so I'm like, I need more caffeine or something.
No, I hear you. And I used to be more well versed in all of this when I graduated college. And whenever I was doing my first episode of my podcast, me and a buddy of mine were breaking into some of these conversations, and we both realized kind of how much we had forgotten, since we don't talk about all this stuff anymore.
We don't talk about that often. You kind of forget about some of these things.
Yeah, it made me kind of sad a little bit, because man,
you just need a little touch up. That's all. I mean, life's been busy for a lot of us this day and age. I mean, when I was a kid, when I was in high school, I was huge. And I talked about this backstage before the show, when I was huge into paleontology. I wanted to be a paleontologist originally. Okay. And I had a teacher fuck me over with that mentally. So I kind of went through a depressive slope. But I used to be able to tell you a lot about things like Permian animals, Cenozoic, Mesozoic, all that. I realized the other day, oh shit, I used to be able to tell what exactly an animal was based on the fossil. I can't do that nowadays, so I just gotta refresh myself. That's all it is.
I will say, do you play Ark? Have you played Ark?
I do not play. Oh god, my game library that I have to play is extensive. I have games from the PlayStation 3 and the 360 still wrapped in the plastic.
Okay.
And that is how backed up I am in all of that.
Ark is a time suck. A hard time suck. However, one thing that I did appreciate about it is it kind of blends dinosaurs in. I don't know if you know anything about Ark, but you can tame dinosaurs and then you can ride dinosaurs, and dinosaurs can harvest resources for you, and they all have different attributes and things like that.
Yeah.
And I actually learned quite a bit about dinosaurs. Don't get me wrong. I am not saying that if you want to learn about dinosaurs, go play Ark.
You want a degree in paleontology, just go play Ark. There you go.
Right. What I am saying is if you want to be exposed to the names of dinosaurs and things like that, it wouldn't be a bad way to passively gain some of that knowledge.
Right. My game was always like Monster Hunter when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's a game you go out with like a suit of armor and you hunt these monsters that look like dragons or dinosaurs, stuff like that. Which, by the way, I don't know if you've heard the new trend for podcasts since you're new to this kind of thing. Every podcast apparently believes in dragons now. Fucking Joey Bayer or whatever her name is on The View made that comment about Joe Rogan, and then I forget who it was, said, well, they all believe in dragons, so you shouldn't believe in podcasts. So there you go. We believe in dragons.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, it's
and the thing is, I'd listened to that episode of Rogan before I had heard her say anything about that. And as soon as I heard what she said, I was just like, that's not at all.
Yeah, it was
talking about.
It was the cryptozoological guy that's been trying to find thylacine, Forrest Galante or something like that, I believe his name. Or
yeah, I don't remember.
He's the one who found out the blue macaw is not extinct because he's found a small pocket of them in South America. But it killed me because she claims she checked it 3 times and was fact checked by ABC. You dumb bitch. You were not. You threw that out there as a shot because he's making more money than you.
Well, and Joe Rogan is a really interesting case because when Joe Rogan said that he wasn't going to bend to the requirements of Kamala Harris for an episode, it made a lot of people realize that podcasters now have more power than the vice president of the United States.
It's a scary thought.
Specifically that podcaster. But I mean, the other side of it is like the media. This is my feeling on the Department of Government Efficiency. Had the news media been doing its job, we wouldn't need the Department of Government Efficiency. No, if the news media had been pointing out at these and going through the government's budgets and pointing out these absurd things, the people would be able to be informed about it and raise hell and get the government to rein in their spending. But unfortunately, the news media has been co-opted by corporations and it's not serving the public interest like it's supposed to. And that's where I think that this election has made people realize that podcasters actually have more power than the legacy media at this point.
Right. Well, I think the thing is too is that I get tired of watching the news and hearing their so-called quote expert panel weigh in about how Kamala is this, or I don't know what your political affiliation is. And I'm not going to ask because that's even more tense apparently than asking religion. But They want to sit there and say like Kamala's this or Trump is that. I just miss the days where they tell you how it is. Like, this is the facts, okay? Yes, Kamala Harris didn't go on Joe Rogan. Donald Trump did. Next up, sports. I miss those days, you know? Instead, they got to tell us, like, you know, this is how you should feel or this is how you should vote. And it's so stupid how, I mean, this year's been really fucking weird, too, because you've had an escalation in Ukraine, an escalation in Israel and Palestine. We had a president, whether you like him or not, get shot at, and had a second guy who was getting ready to shoot at him, and we just moved on.
Yeah, it was 3 days.
3 days.
Hours.
We just had a congressional hearing where the government literally said, yes, we have crash retrieval programs for UFOs. Yes, we have UFO reverse engineering programs that we're using. That shit should have been big. That should have been big, because that is like every person who's believing UFOs is like, oh, dude, they're going to have to admit it one day. They're going to have to. That shit got buried by like Trump, Biden, Harris, and then they moved on. It was like, I want to know more about, okay, so do you actually have fucking Megatron down in the basement of the White House frozen? Is that what this is?
Yeah, no, and that just kind of goes to show you where our news media's priorities are. And honestly, I don't even know if back in the day was accurate, because yeah, it was less biased, but they still had control of the narrative.
Yeah, they did.
And so if they didn't report on it, nobody was going to know. And that's ultimately the power that they have. And the sad thing is that we used to rely on that to make really important decisions. And now we're starting to realize that they don't have an interest in actually reporting the news.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to one of the Rogan episodes with, I can't ever remember the two of their names, but it was Casey and it was the ex-pharmaceutical rep and the ex-surgeon who had done the congressional committee hearing, and talking about how our medical industry is no longer about healthy people. But anyways, in that episode, they talked about pharmaceutical companies doing ads on news stations. And for the longest time, I've never understood why pharmaceutical companies advertise their drugs at all, because ultimately I should go to the doctor and the doctor should know more, and he's going to prescribe whatever he sees fit. And so me knowing a brand name or whatever should be irrelevant. Mm-hmm. But then they actually threw it out, which is 50% of the advertising dollars come from pharmaceutical companies. And so the reason why they're advertising isn't so that they can promote their brands, it's so that they can maintain the power over these networks. And believe me, if 50% of your income came from one source, it's not even that they would have to tell you, don't do a bad story on us. It's I don't want to fuck this up, so I'm not going to talk bad about them. You would self-censor.
That's really weird. So basically, journalism and journalistic integrity got thrown out the window for big money from big pharma.
But here's another interesting thing for you, which is, I don't know if you listened to the Trump interview on Rogan, but
I did.
Trump kind of pointed at this, but he didn't make a very big deal about it. And I think it's a pretty big deal, which is, you remember the days of rabbit ears on our TVs?
Oh yeah, I had to adjust those things 100 times for my father. Go to left, go to right, get to the aluminum foil. Okay, stop. You moved. Go back. I hated those fucking things.
So, back in the day, the FCC regulated the airwaves because there's only so many radio airwaves. there's only so many airwaves that you can work with, and so they would regulate those. And it's always been understood that the news is a public good. And so what they agreed on was that for 1 hour every single night, you could do the news and they wouldn't charge you to use those airwaves.
Okay.
And with not being charged to use those airwaves, you actually had to present the news. However, when it comes to cable, you pay for cable. Anything that comes over cable, you pay for, which means it's entertainment, which means any news station that's on cable television is entertainment by all standards. And so even though we call it Fox News, it's still Fox News Entertainment.
Right.
So they don't actually have to give you the news. They just have to keep you entertained so that you continue to pay your cable bill.
Gotcha. So if I want to really listen to the news, listen to like WICS here in Illinois or News Channel 20, News Channel 17.
Well, but then the thing is they still use those airwaves. They're digital airwaves now. But that was the issue with CBS editing the Kamala Harris interview, because 60 Minutes is part of CBS's news division.
Right.
And CBS said, we edited it the way that we did and promoted it that way because it's entertainment. Well, you're not being charged for the airwaves, so it shouldn't be entertainment. This is part of your news segment.
Do you think that if she had went on Rogan, because Rogan does have a huge reach, he is a very big, he's probably one of the best podcasters out there. Do you think if she went on Rogan, she would have had a better chance of winning the election?
I think it would have been closer, yeah.
I think it would have been closer too. It's weird how she wanted it to be like certain. She wanted to be edited. She wanted to only be like an hour or so. She wanted him to go out there where
she wanted to control it. She wanted to be in control.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a microcosm of the status quo. They want to be in control.
I think so too, yeah.
And I think that that's part of why the Democrats are having such a hard time, is because they are obviously protecting the status quo and throwing Americans out the window with it. And so, honestly, I don't think that she ever really had a shot because she was just a terrible candidate, all in all.
She really did get a bad shaft. She got 5 months from when Biden dropped out to get her shit together, to get a campaign running. She chose the worst possible vice presidential pick, because that vice presidential debate sunk her bad. I'm friends with school shooter. You don't say that. She was off stage somewhere screaming into a pillow when he said that.
I don't know. I don't know a lot, because honestly, what little we did see of the two of them wasn't enough to make a good judgment on who they were.
It really wasn't. No. Here's the one thing that I could point out too. Trump listened to the people. He got out there. He listened to the people. He had answers for them, and he sympathized with them. Harris, I never heard anything of what she wanted to do with Ukraine, with the border, inflation, stuff like that. Big things we're dealing with. The most I heard was the usual rhetoric of Orange Man bad, which that's not enough to win an election for you, hon. I'm sorry.
Have you noticed that they'll use a populist candidate in kind of a negative term?
They really will.
Do you know what a populist candidate is?
You might have to refresh my memory on this one.
Well, do you got the capability to jump on the internet real fast so we can read the definition?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because I think that's more meaningful than me trying to pull it out of my ass from looking at it a couple weeks ago.
What is a populist candidate? Let's see. Populism is in the United States, reaches all the way back to Andrew Jackson in the 1830s, and as the People's Party is coming from Wikipedia. It has made a resurgence.
But what is a populist? Look up what is a populist.
Let's do that. What is a populist? What is a Okay, here we go. A person, especially a politician, who strives to appeal to ordinary people who feel that their concerns are disregarded by established elite groups. Very much Trump to a T.
Yeah, but why is it a bad thing to listen to ordinary people?
It's really not.
Isn't that kind of what democracy is all about? What our representative democracy is all about? I hope that my representatives are listening to their constituents and are concerned with the things that their constituents are concerned with, right?
Yeah. I would say that the whole point of being a politician is you hear what the people say. And it's like, for example, let's say they have a concern about people driving with cell phones. Somebody's running for president or running for office of some type, and one of the things is they want to outlaw having cell phones, people driving with cell phones. That they need to listen to the people because we're the ones that elect them. We're the ones that are paying their bills, their taxes, and all that stuff. Their job should be to listen to us and not listen to a bigger group, like, for example, just throwing this out there, Big Pharma or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, this is where it gets complicated, though, right? And this is where I kind of struggle with how should a representative represent their constituents, is because say you have a Ford manufacturer in your district. Now, you want to do what's best for the constituents in your district, right? And you also want to do good for the businesses that are in your district. So that would include the Ford manufacturer. However, if the Ford manufacturer and the people have two diverging interests, who do you side with? Well, that's where it starts to get difficult, because your constituents, that Ford manufacturer might have 10,000 jobs. So that's 10,000 people. That's an entire economy, because it's not just the Ford manufacturer, but it's the fast food restaurants, it's the Walmarts, it's the grocery stores, it's the clothing stores, it's the gas stations, everything that it takes to make sure that those 10,000 people can get to work tomorrow.
Right.
And that their families also have jobs, and so on and so forth. And so that's an entire economy. And if that Ford manufacturer goes out of business, all of your constituents could be in danger. So it's a balancing act of, like, part of it is looking past what your constituents can see, but also making sure that your constituents are taken care of at the same time. And that's I don't even know how anybody could do that. And I imagine that's how a lot of them get in trouble, is because they get convinced that, if you pass this bill, that'll make it easier for us to run our business, then that'll be good for everybody there. But if that is, let us dump our sewage into the creek where the town pulls their water from, I don't know. To me, that's just short-sightedness on the business's part.
Right. I mean, it's really come down to, it's like, I don't know, politics nowadays. It's like, I don't get political. Quite frankly, I hated both of them, but I'm glad he won over her. Don't get me wrong.
Agreed.
But the big thing is, it's like the one problem I have is that we have this political dogma in the country where it's like you have to join either this side or that side. I don't care for either side. That's my problem. But this political dogma is so divided amongst America. It is. I know people who won't talk to family members. They divorce family members. They won't talk to their parents. If my fiance or my mother voted for somebody else and I voted for this person, I'm still gonna love them. It's not gonna change a damn thing. it's just, I don't know. It's like the whole world's gone crazy, and it's like it's really, what's bad. Obviously, you can tell I'm a Cardinals fan. It's really bad when the Cardinals Cubs rivalry is nothing compared to the political rivalry facing now. And anybody will tell you, if you're a Cardinals fan and you go to Wrigley Field, you are an invader. They don't like you, and vice versa if you're a Cardinals fan. But I find that safer than half the shit we talk about with the politics. It's like, what is this? So, I don't
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I think that Trump had a really good statement when they asked him if he was for or against the Ukrainian position. And his response was, I just want people to stop dying.
That was a damn good answer. I heard that one.
And I kind of feel the same way about this Republican versus Democrat position. I don't care about either one of them. I just want people to stop selling the American people down the road. Yeah. Stop taxing us and saying it's for the greater good when, all your buddies get rich off of it.
Yeah, if I'm going to pay taxes, I want my taxes to go to America, not to help somebody who just jumped over the border and has like 6 warrants, which apparently that actually happened today. They arrested a guy smuggling like 134 guns across the border. And I'm like, damn, how the hell did he lug all that across the border?
It's a really big butthole.
That's
he stretched that thing all the way out.
He had us a lot of. He went to one of the Diddy parties to borrow the lube.
Yeah,
yeah. His butthole was whistling by the time they started. Oh shit! I don't know. It's so weird. The Ukraine war just needs to stop, in my opinion, as well. It's gonna escalate, and I hate seeing how it's escalating.
I try to understand that there is nuances to foreign policy that I may not understand, and I try to hold that in my head whenever I make an opinion on whether or not our interventionism is worth it. And I have no idea if the Ukraine war is worth it, is really in our interests. I
don't know.
I have this weird theory. I hope nobody cancels me over this, but this is my theory. I think that Biden did commit some corruption with Ukraine, as has been suggested with the Hunter Biden laptop. But I believe that the Hunter Biden laptop was just the surface level. And the reason why the Biden administration encouraged Russia to invade Ukraine was to get rid of evidence.
Well, it also doesn't help the fact that Biden also, every time Biden is anywhere near office, whether it's vice president or president, Ukraine gets dragged in some capacity. They literally impeached Trump over quid pro quo. And then there's literally a video out there where Biden is like, yeah, I quid pro quo them to get my son away out of trouble. And it's like, well, where's the impeachment trial for that? I mean, if you do something wrong, regardless on who you are, you deserve to get something, either impeached or something. I don't know, but not a peep was ever said about that.
One thing that concerns me is some of the, I'm going to try and phrase this as delicately as I can. Some of the most staunch MAGA supporters kind of view Trump in this deified way, and I don't really appreciate that. Look, I'm glad that he won over Kamala. However, now that he's won the presidency and will become president in January, now is the time for the media to start being super critical of him. However, that does not mean that you need to keep with various hoaxes and just lying about his positions on things.
Yeah.
There's a video clip of montage of clips where he says that he condones white supremacy, and then a reporter will say, but will you finally condone white supremacy? And it goes on for like 3 years. The media is sitting there saying he hasn't even condoned white supremacy when he's done it many, 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 many times. And in fact, some of them, you could hear how tired he was of having to say it, and then nobody reporting on it.
Well, it's like the Project 2025 thing that Harris kept pushing around. CNN, of all people, even came out and said, he doesn't endorse Project 2025. He's not a part of it. And she kept pushing like he's a part of it.
Even in the presidential debates, they didn't fact check her when he literally just said, I have nothing to do with Project 2025 and I have no desire to put it in place. 2 sentences later, Kamala still said, and he's going to put in place Project 2025.
Yeah.
And the moderators didn't say, well, now, hey, he just said that he wasn't going to do that.
But yeah, yet the moderators want to bounce on him when he says they're eating cats and dogs.
Well,
why did he? I haven't seen anyone. It's been a couple months. I haven't seen anyone talk about some of these Haitian immigrants eating cats and dogs. I saw one video, but that was it. And I don't understand why he threw that out there.
Yeah.
It's literally like Trump can be a stand-up comedian if he wanted to. He's got the timing. Some of the shit he can say can be just fucking hilarious.
In another life, I'm sure he was a stand-up comedian.
In another life, he said, President? Fuck President. I'm going to go be a stand-up comedian. I'm going to open for Eddie Murphy tonight. The fuck are you smoking?
But on the other hand, Zelensky's a comedian too, so it's not unprecedented for comedians to become president.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how much the media will lie, just outright lie, like the Fine People hoax. When if you listen to it, he condemns bigotry, he condemns white supremacy, he condemns the KKK, but you have people still saying he called white supremacists fine people. And it's like,
but
no,
that's also because he was trying to quell a riot that was going on. Where was that riot at?
Charlottesville.
The Charlottesville riot. He was trying to quell the Charlottesville riot, and he was trying to say there's good people on both sides. There's good people on both sides of the riot. Did he word it incorrectly? Yes, and I think he realized that. But at the same time, everybody else has already also said he wasn't talking about racism or white supremacists. He was talking about the people in Charlottesville riots. It's the same thing as the World War I vets being dumb bastards. You know, that actually got proven to be false as well. It was actually this general, and there was somebody who actually backed him up and said, yeah, I was there when he was talking about it. He never said a damn word. It was because it was raining. We couldn't get out there, and the traffic was backed up. So, I mean, it's really weird how you can sit there and you can say shit and it still get twisted, even though you can literally say it's like talking to flat earthers, for fuck's sakes. And I should know because some of my friends are fucking flat earthers and I can't stand it.
Yeah. It would be nice if we had news media that would, if you're gonna cover something, cover the whole damn thing.
No kidding.
Stop doing sound bites and shit like that. However, one thing that I do appreciate about Trump, and it's because he says absurd shit in absurd ways. More people pay attention to politics, I think, than ever. And I think that that's important. I really think that that's really important. I know that I've told Casey this on her podcast several times, but there is a philosopher from the 1930s-ish by the name of John Dewey, and he wrote an article, Democracy, the Task Before Us. And in that article, he basically says that democracy is not voting on candidates. Democracy is discussing ideas every single day. Discussing them at the dinner table, at the street corner, on the bus, on the elevator, you have to talk about it over and over and over. And that's how democracy works. It's a lifestyle. It's not a ballot box. It's a lifestyle.
Is that Casey's co-host there, Alexis?
We have to pay attention to politics.
Yep. Welcome to the show, Alexis. And I agree. You do have to pay attention, and it should be the talking. It shouldn't be this whole, well, you're this and you're blah blah blah. It should be, hey, we need to find a solution to the energy crisis. Okay, what do we have? What's our options? That should be what it is. Coming up with ideas and all that, and finding out which one is the better of the ideas and implementing those.
And this is the thing. If Trump wants to say, let's put horses in nuclear reactors to make them burn better, that's absolutely ridiculous. But the thing is it would get people to pay attention to the conversation.
He said that. They're going to cognitive test that son of a bitch right away.
Well, because that was, so he had that, I don't know. He is a real estate mogul. I do not expect him to know the details and minutia of every aspect of science everywhere. But during the pandemic, whenever he was like, we got to get UV lights into the body.
Oh, the Lysol. You got to start drinking the Lysol.
Well, and then the thing is like, when it comes to viruses, sunlight 100% kills it.
Oh yeah, he was right about that with the whole
UV
because
light.
he sat there and said, we need to start investing UV lights, and everybody's like, oh, it's just a joke. It don't work that way. A week later, they said, hey, this thing is very susceptible to ultraviolet light. It dehydrates. He wasn't wrong there. So, but the Lysol shit.
Yeah. So it's yeah. I mean, yeah.
I think Trump is very good at yoga. He's very good at putting his foot in his mouth, but he can be correct several times, and at least we can understand him as opposed to. Do
you remember Home Improvement?
Oh yeah.
All right, so this is how I view it: is Donald Trump is Tim Allen, and he's got a bunch of Wilsons around him, so he's getting good advice. It's just once he walks into the house and tries to repeat it to his wife, it gets all fucked up. That's how I see it.
Oh, shit. Me and Lex disagree, but we talk respectfully about it. Yeah, I agree. That's how it should be.
It should be. Me and my partner were talking about it the other day, and respect and decorum are important, and I would like to see that return to not just conversations about politics, but just everyday conversations. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, if you disagree with somebody, that's fine. If you're not willing to have a conversation with somebody, that's also fine. But don't make it that other person's problem.
You have to agree to disagree, unless you're a Taylor Swift fan, because you're 100% wrong. I had to get that in there because I got Casey and Alexis watching. I know Casey's a big Swiftie. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, she's probably sitting there. Hey. Oh, I don't know. Well, hopefully it starts to get better. I mean, and the thing is, too, it's real. Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, now don't bring Taylor into this. That's fighting words there. I don't know. I think like
go
ahead.
Whenever I first came to college, I would go to parties, and at parties there would be this rule: don't talk religion or politics.
Yeah, we kind of broke that rule the first one.
And I think that is such an absurd rule, because it's like, how am I supposed to learn about the world? How am I supposed to learn about other people and what they believe if I don't talk about two things that are pretty central to everybody's lives?
Well, I would say it's more or less, you don't have to talk politics. I mean, don't have to talk politics or religion. There's other things you could talk about with people to get there, to understand them and learn off of, like people's upbringing, people's education, maybe their hobbies, maybe music they like, for example. And I'm not a Swifty, Casey, so you shut your treacherous mouth up right now. And hell with that. Oh gosh, I've got 2 raging Swifties in the audience, but I think when it comes
if you're
down,
going to talk about religion, that sounds like a religion to me.
yeah, if you want to talk religion, that's all about that is. But if we bring in Taylor Swift, oh god, we're bringing in the wrath of hell. I think what it comes down to is that they're both so, those two plus sports. Sports can also be a very, very heated conversation, just like politics and religion. And I think the thing is like, yes, you want to learn, but there's also other avenues to learn, as opposed to asking somebody about their religion or their political views or sports or whatnot, which those 3 subjects can usually lead to either a hardcore agreement, kind of like what we have here, where I'm pretty much open to it, and you're talking about your beliefs and all that stuff, and I'm agreeing with it, or it's going to be straight up just denial and going to turn into an argument. It's weird.
Well, but my thing is I don't really want to talk to people who agree with me, because the way I see it is my position is like the edge of a knife, and it needs to be sharpened. And the only way to sharpen it is to brush it against something harder than my knife, right? And
Right.
so I want to talk to people in very heated ways, but I also think that as long as you can manage respect and some decorum, it'll be okay. It'll be fine. You can have strong opinions and disagree with people and reach a conclusion in a conversation. But this is the thing. If I'm completely wrong about something, I want to be told that I'm completely wrong about it. I do not. But on the other side of that, I don't want somebody to say, you're wrong about that. Okay, why am I wrong about it? I don't know. I just feel like you're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, that's not helpful at all. So those people you just have to agree to disagree with, because they're not willing to conversate about it. And if you're not willing to conversate about it, then we can't go anywhere with it.
So when you get in these positions where you're asking people about like their religion or their stuff like that, you're not looking more to debate them, as in prove that you're right and they're wrong. You're there more to learn off that person. Like, maybe there's something I missed about, say, religion or something like that.
Well, and this is how I view humanity: is we're all still hunters and gatherers, and we're hunters and gatherers for information at this point. And so
yeah,
I don't know. I don't live your life, Tyler. You live your life. And so the only person that can tell me about what you experience is you. And so that's how I kind of view it, is like, all right, what knowledge are you bringing to the table? All right, let's put all of our knowledge on the table and see what works out, and see, and we'll pull from each other what's going to make both of our lives better.
Right. I understand that. It's a pretty good idea. The problem is, though, is that too many people in the world also look to, like you said, they want to agree to disagree. They want to sit there and say, I'm right, you're wrong. And then when you ask, well, how am I wrong? They just say, you just are. There's too many people who want to do that. Even some of these political debaters you see nowadays do this kind of stuff where they, like, who was it? I don't really get into politics, I'll be honest with you, but I was flipping through TikTok one day. There was a streamer, he was debating a politician, and he started randomly yelling and asking the politician, do you believe in dinosaurs? Do you believe in dinosaurs? And I'm like, what the fuck does that got to do with what you're talking about? Surely
you're on that paleontology talk, huh?
I've been on it. I'm waiting for the new Jurassic World trailer to drop, and I'm like, come on, I want to see if they get it actually right this time.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, plus the fact that they finally revealed the mummified Smilodon cub they've talked about for years. They finally revealed that, and that thing is gnarly looking.
What do you think of these worms that they thawed out in Russia? Did you hear about this?
I have heard about it.
Didn't they thaw out like a whole handful of them, and
Uh-huh.
like 10% of them came back to life?
Yep, 10% of them resuscitated. Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me God. We just went through 4 years of bad decisions when it came to a world-changing event. We don't need another 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so weird. There's some things science should look into, and there's some things science shouldn't look into. And in the case of thawing out the worms, there's hundreds of movies about thawing out a prehistoric animal that prove why that's a bad fucking idea.
I mean, there's also reason to believe that they wouldn't survive anyways because they haven't evolved in the thousands of years that they've been frozen.
Right. Another thing too is also that's 1,000 years. Our soil could be toxic to them right now.
Right.
I
Or
mean,
air could be toxic to them for all we know.
yeah, the air could be toxic, but then again, also at the same time, they may thrive in this environment because what was it? I read the other day. Somebody said, I'm going back to politics, so I'm jumping back off it because I'm using this as an example. The whole argument about global warming, they said the other day, the Earth is actually the hottest it's been ever. That's wrong because carbon dating proved that during the time of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the average air temperature on Earth was 140 to 160 degrees.
Which would make sense for reptiles.
Makes sense for reptiles, makes sense for insects, bird-like creatures, stuff like that. Now, that's also going to have a rich nitrogen soil for plants to grow in. We don't have that type of environment nowadays. So animals like those worms, for example, they thawed out. I don't know. It depends on the lottery, I guess.
I had heard that because there's more CO2 in the atmosphere now, the Earth is actually the greenest it's been in a long time.
I have heard that too, because people do have to remember, yes, there's more CO2 in the air. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a climate change denier. It's been proven through history the climate has changed. I think we're progressing it through our releasing of CO2. But there is one thing people forget is that plants will breathe in carbon monoxide and release oxygen. So, like literally, they said a while back, the corn belts, the farmlands we have here in the U.S. overtook the Amazon for #1 producer of oxygen in the world for a short while. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but don't you think, like, if we want a healthy habitat and healthy human beings, we also have to have healthy plants because they're the ones that are releasing the oxygen we breathe?
I would agree. This is my opinion on the climate change thing. I think it's arrogant of us to think that we're changing it, but I think it's naive to think that we don't have any participation in it.
I would agree 100% too. I think what it comes down to, because I remember winters. I mean, you're 37, I'm 40. I remember winters where you had snow on the ground on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, like a decade later, you have a 60-degree Thanksgiving Day. It's like, what in the fuck is this?
Well, and I moved to Southern Illinois, and our climate is just a little bit warmer than Central Illinois.
Right.
Not by much, but I will tell you that since I've been down here, warm weather basically runs from mid-March until about mid-November down here. And where, from what I remember being in Central Illinois, warm weather is like May until like end of September, mid-October.
It's still about that. Yeah. It's kind of end of April till about October-ish.
Yeah.
I guess you could say. So, but
like for us down here, it's not uncommon to get a 70-degree day in February.
Right.
And actually going hiking in the winter is far better than going hiking in the summer.
I'm gonna have to move down to Carbondale because I'm cold blooded. I need some heat. I love the sweat. I hate getting up at 5 a.m. You gotta let the car warm up. You gotta get out of your nice warm bed. You gotta get in that freezing ass car, and then you gotta drive to work. It's like, oh, for fuck's sakes, you
Do you
know?
like spicy food?
It depends. I like spicy, but the spiciest thing I've ever had is the one chip challenge, and unless we're doing a wrestling for a cure challenge where it's a donation where the money goes to St. Jude's, I'm not doing that shit again.
I'm not interested in that kind of spicy food. I'm not so if that tells you anything about fired up jellies and jams, like we are not that kind of spicy. Like
You're not that kind of spicy.
No, we are not a challenge. You should not be buying fired up to see if your friends can handle it because it's not that kind of spicy. However, what I was going to say is that spicy food will causes blood flow. So
yes,
it will help your. Well, so like one of the things I was going to go swimming down in the ocean and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get me a small bottle of sriracha and then I'm just going to drink some sriracha straight so that I can handle the cold water. Because basically what happens is increased blood flow will help you regulate your body temperature better and you'll be able to handle cold weather. So with that, before you go and warm up your car, throw some strawberry habanero jelly on some toast and get your blood going. And that'll make it a little bit more easier to handle those cold days.
I see what you did there. A little bit of advertising for your business. Good on you.
I never stopped advertising for my business. I don't know what you're talking about. They say that people who start their own businesses will quit a 40-hour job to work 80-hour jobs. But the thing is you get to pick what 80 hours of the week you work. With me, I eat, drink, sleep, fired up. I can't help it. It's just part of who I am. Like I wake up in the morning and think, how can I make this business better? And I go to bed wishing that I had done more today.
Where can people buy some of your jellies at? Do you have a website?
So I do have a website and we do ship. I will say it's cheaper to get it at a store near you. In Jacksonville, we used to be in the county market there, but then whenever Hy-Vee bought them, I've never reached back out to try and stay in there.
Right.
We are in the Hy-Vee in Springfield. We're in all the county markets in Springfield and Sherman. We are in Harvest Market.
Oh my God, look at that. You're in Missouri. You're almost in Tennessee. You're in Kentucky, almost parts of Tennessee.
Zoom out a little bit more.
Oh, you're also in New York. You're in Texas, Florida, North Dakota. Damn.
I will tell you that that's not a completely updated map. I'm slightly lazy. It's not entirely updated. A lot of those further out accounts had bought like a couple cases from me and then haven't ordered again. So I don't know where we stand with any of those accounts, but like Schnucks, County Markets, Harvest Market, you should be able to find us there.
Holy crap, you've got almost all of St. Louis there covered. And the
surrounding parts. That each one of those is a Schnucks.
Ah, okay.
And we got into Schnucks under a local program, and they put us in 82 Schnucks in the St. Louis area. So that's what all those the ones in St. Louis are. And
it says you got 2 locations here in Jacksonville where I'm at.
Yeah. What's the one on the square? I don't remember the name of it.
Let's see here.
It's terrible.
If I can zoom in close enough. That's the Greenhaven Home Goods Stores.
You can click on it and it'll tell you to.
Yep, Greenhaven. They're still up and running. I know that.
Oh, are they? I haven't sold to them in a little while either. I don't get over to Jacksonville very often. That's part of my problem. If I go to Springfield, I'm either busy with family stuff or busy already doing other fired up stuff, and I don't take the time to go to Jacksonville. I will tell you that we are in the county market in Pittsfield, Quincy, and Hannibal, which that's not updated on this map either.
Yep, you're right. It's not, because Quincy's right there, and yep.
Yeah. So, and we just got into 50 Kroger's in the Louisville, Lexington, and Elizabethtown area.
Damn.
Kentucky. And I will tell you, so this is the thing. It sounds impressive to have all those accounts. However, I will tell you that not all of those accounts are ordering every single week, or not even every month, not even every 6 months. And so, yeah, it looks pretty impressive, but I will tell you, there's a difference between having a lot of accounts and having strong accounts. And during COVID, we gained a lot of accounts because grocery stores were having a hard time keeping things on their shelves, and they just needed something on their shelf to sell. So and a lot of people were more oriented towards local items. And so they were willing to take a chance on a new local item. But then as we started to come out of COVID, I started to realize how stretched thin I was, and I couldn't really support all of those accounts. And so for the past 2 years, we've been focusing more on building strong accounts rather than a lot of accounts.
Wow. Now, where'd you get the recipe for this jelly at?
So I came up with it myself. Me and my partner developed all of our recipes.
Ah, okay.
Whenever I graduated college, I was also getting interested in the wine industry, and one point in time, I wanted to own my own winery, but I don't have that kind of money. But I've worked at wineries down here in Southern Illinois. A buddy of mine is the winemaker at one of the wineries, and he was making a carrot habanero jam. And I was like most people, and I was like, habanero, no thank you. That's too spicy for me. He got me to try it, and I was really impressed at how much the heat backed off. And so I told him I thought a strawberry habanero jelly would be good. He said he wasn't interested in it. And so I went home and built an entire company around that one idea.
Wow. And so far, it's actually done pretty good. A lot of people seem to agree with you that, yeah, strawberry habanero is a good idea.
Yeah. And it's our strawberry habanero is my favorite, but our peach seems to be a real winner. It got first place in the Scovie Awards. It's gotten second place in the International Flavor Awards. It's got a couple third places, and our Sinful Peach is very, very popular when people try them all. But I will tell you that, like, a lot of people, so strawberry has this allure to it that, like, a lot of people are like strawberry people, right? I was one of those people. Like, you like strawberry, so you get strawberry flavored things. And so strawberry has that, but peach doesn't have that appeal. And so our strawberry habanero tends to be our best seller. But once people try it, it ends up being the peach that's everyone's favorite. For example, my mom doesn't like anything spicy. She didn't for the longest time. And so whenever I was developing the strawberry habanero jelly, I had her in mind because I wanted something that could kind of touch on people who aren't really into spicy things and kind of bring them into the fold. And so I developed the strawberry habanero jelly with my mom in mind, and because she taught me to be a strawberry person, her favorite has always been strawberry. And now come to find out, it's our Sinful Peach that is her favorite. She betrayed me. But no, they're all really, really good, and they're all really good in their own right. I highly suggest everyone try all of them. And it's not just because I'm biased and I make money when you do try all of them. No, I mean, they're really good. So this is the thing is I came from the wine industry, and I learned how to taste things, and most people don't know what they're tasting when they eat food. And I think that that's really sad because there can be enjoyment when eating food, and not just like satisfying hunger, but actually like enjoying the taste and flavor of things. So one of the things that I've been doing recently is doing our sinful peach on pumpkin pie.
Mm-hmm.
And it pairs so well that it elevates both of them.
Wow.
And honestly, I highly recommend everyone, just when you're at Thanksgiving this weekend, just grab a piece of pumpkin pie, do a little dollop of the peach on it, and just try it once. It's phenomenal. It will blow your mind. I promise.
It complements. They both complement each other so well. You'll never go back to anything less, huh?
Yeah, my business advisor. I was doing a. What were we doing? We were doing there was a business plan competition, and I made it to the last round of the business plan competition, and they had brought in like pie and dinner for everybody, and my business advisor was there with me, and I talked him into putting some of the peach, just because I knew that pumpkin pie has cinnamon in it, and so I knew that the peach, I knew that they would pair well. I hadn't tried it before, but I talked him into trying the peach on his pumpkin pie.
Mm-hmm.
And he now says that he can't have pumpkin pie any other way. He is the strongest advocate. And so whenever I told him that I was doing pumpkin pie samples at grocery stores, he was so excited. He's like, everybody's got to try this.
Well, maybe, with Thanksgiving coming up and the holidays, I mean, now, do you have any other flavors coming up? Do you have like any new flavors you're working on?
So we developed 6 recipes in our kitchen, and we have 3 in production. And one of the things that we found is that whenever you come out with a new product, you cannibalize your sales of the other product. And so the other side of it is the.
Are you off yet?
The answer is no. Just a little dead air here. Don't worry.
I'm sorry. My fiance didn't know I was on the air still, so
it's all right.
I haven't made.
Don't worry, guys. I'll keep you entertained while we wait for him to come back.
Sorry about that. She completely forgot I was off the air because she was like, "Are you still on the air?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Go, get out of here! I'm still on the air."
Yeah, you can ask Casey. I will make your show run a lot longer than you intended. That's for sure.
I originally thought this would be like an hour or so. We've been on the air for almost like an hour and a half. Like, whoa, shit.
Yeah. And so for my podcast, Smitty Thinks He Knows, if anybody's wondering, it will be long form conversation, because I'm all about just letting the conversation go wherever it's going to go.
Right. And that's kind of what I go for as well with mine. The whole point of these is, we broke on with our show with the Best Damn Podcast originally as a comedy show. And then it became, we did well for a year. We've been on the air for a year now. We got nominated for the Illinois Times Best Podcast Award twice in a row, which I was impressed with.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And now it's like I wanted to do something different, but I wanted to like reach out and get to know all the other podcasts and, celebrities, and I want to get to know the neighbors basically, and bring some recognition to them as well. Like we had Casey on. She was one of our first one up, and then we had actually she wasn't our first one. Bloody F Mess from he was a musician from Peoria. He was our first interviewer, and then we had Casey, and then we had We had Opa Ghost on. They were really, really cool. Then we had Ray Lytle from Ray Lytle's Morning Disaster, and then we've had Rob Hansen from
How did you get
Freeman.
Ray Lionel on your show?
Oh, I know him. He's a friend of mine.
Because I remember listening to the Morning Disaster as a kid.
Yeah, he's still on the air. He does the morning show.
Okay.
He's on Facebook and YouTube. I can send you a link to it if you want. But
All right.
yeah, he's still on the air, and he doesn't have most of the cast have moved on. There's a few who have unfortunately passed.
Yeah, Jim the photographer passed away. I remember
Jim passed away. Mikey has passed away.
Oh, I didn't know Mikey passed away.
Yeah, Mikey unfortunately passed from cancer a couple years ago, and RTQ just recently passed. So it's Ray. It's another guy named Dan, Psycho Dan, and his girlfriend Christina, and then we have a castmate named Jason Kluge. We kind of share custody with Kluge when it comes to us and Morning Disaster. So it's like kind of like our sister show, I guess you could say. Only they don't like us being their sister show, that kind of shit, you know. So, but yeah, they're still on the air, and they beat us twice in a row.
I remember when they put Jim the photographer through a car wash in the middle of like January.
Oh, I remember when they smashed Jimmy's car, the ambulance. I remember that whole thing. And he finally put that podcast out on his Patreon. And I listened to it, and I'm like, yeah, you can hear every moment they censor that son of a bitch, because he was not happy. This was not some skit. That was his fucking car.
Oh, man. So honestly, I used to ride the school bus in the morning, and I was the first person on the bus. So my school bus ride was an hour long.
Ooh.
And it was about 15, 20 minutes to the next house after I got on the bus. And so my bus driver was really cool, considering I was like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, 13. But she would put the Morning Disaster on until we picked up the first kid.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Which may or may not have been appropriate to put on the school bus, but
no, are you kidding? The Morning Disaster inappropriate? Come on.
But no, it was a really cool show. I liked it as a kid, probably because it was inappropriate. But I will say that I went on. I was on WQLZ a couple years ago. Rocky, who was doing the morning show on QLZ. Let's see here. I belong to this networking group, and because I belong to the networking group, I met a guy who knew a guy who I ended up getting onto the air and got interviewed on QLZ, and right after the Illinois Products Expo in March.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following year, I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I'm going to be in town for the Illinois Products Expo. You care if I come on? And so he brought me on so that I could promote the Illinois Products Expo. And for those of you who may not know what the Illinois Products Expo is, it's the Illinois Department of Agriculture has a section called Illinois Products where they promote products that are produced in Illinois. Part of that promotion is by doing a expo the first weekend of March every year at the Orr Building on the State Fairgrounds in Springfield. And that was the first time that we did it was 2020. It was the first weekend of March in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then a week later, the whole world shut down. So the Illinois Products was our first and last chance to get our name out to the public.
Go ahead, keep talking. Sorry, I gotta take care of something real quick.
But yeah, so I highly recommend everyone go and check out the Illinois Products Expo. We will be doing a holiday Illinois Products holiday market in downtown Springfield the first weekend of December on Jackson Street, right in front of the governor's mansion. So I highly recommend everybody coming out, checking that out. If you don't believe me how good our flavors are, come out. We'll be sampling them for free along with a bunch of other Illinois products, and you'll really get to know what is made in Illinois and who to support. It's really important to support local products. It's not just important to support local products because locals intrinsically important. It's economically important because when you spend money with a local company, all of that money stays local except what you give to the feds, but that's taxes and whatnot. But anyways,
sorry about that. I had to put some medication on the cat.
It's all right. I just tried to rant as long as I could.
No, I had to put a medication on cat. We have a cat that's got a really bad skin allergy, and she's scratching herself raw. I had to put some on her. So,
oh, that's no fun. How old is she?
She's 21.
Holy Jesus Christ!
I know, shit, right? She's 21 years old. We've had.
You said cat, not kid, right?
Cat, yeah, cat. Oh no! Did it sound like I said kid? No, I have no.
I'm just making a joke.
I hope I don't have any kids. Shit.
I didn't know cats got to be 21. Jesus Christ.
Well, it's my fiance's cat. She's had two cats. One was 20, and unfortunately that cat passed away last year from cancer, and this one is 21 years old. This one is her 100% favorite. It's her baby. This cat gets more love than I ever do. She's probably watching it. She's like, hey! But she's got a really bad skin allergy. It's because of all the pollen in the air and stuff like that. And
yeah.
Also, we do kind of have fleas we're fighting, and we've pushed them back to the point we've almost got them. But it's just one of those things where she's got very sensitive skin. So
okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to try some of your jams sometime, and I'm definitely going to have you back on.
Okay,
I'm definitely. I'm going to have to come on your show too. I'd be happy to come on your show.
Yeah, no, I'd love to have you on my show. I am planning. I don't want to divulge too much because I also don't want to promise things that I can't deliver. But one of my hopes is that I want to bring on some of my old professors from college. I've already talked to one of them, and so we'll be setting a date here pretty soon to sit down and talk. But he is he's one of my classical literature professors, really good guy, but I really wanted to talk to him about ancient Greece and kind of brush up on that. And, kind of like I was telling you, like talking to people who have different views, like I think of my mind like a knife, right? And sometimes it's dull, sometimes it's sharp. And the best way to sharpen a knife is on a harder surface. And so my whole goal with my podcast is really just to sharpen my mind as much as I possibly can, just for the pure entertainment of learning more stuff. I've always enjoyed learning things. I've always enjoyed learning about the Greeks and the Romans and Christianity and Buddhism and Taoism and just learning about as much stuff as I possibly can. Economics, politics. And like you said, you read the description of my podcast, and it's really just that doesn't even cover half of it. I mean, you came whenever we first started, you were like, I could bring up something about paleontology. And I'm like, I could talk paleontology.
And you did for a while. Yeah. So a conversation about philosophy, religion, politics, science, really anything that seems relevant to repeat and enjoy.
Actually, you should go to the first episode and go to the description for the first episode, because AI wrote the description based on the transcript.
AI wrote the description. Okay. AI generated description. Trump's interview, insight and impressions, global tensions, the onset of World War III, the role of media in politics, the influence of new media, comedy in politics, labor shortages, the nature of astrology and its historical context, the intersection of science, religion, governance, and the role of leadership and freedom in society. I swear, if this had sat there and told me, if this had sat here and told me that you put jelly on a double cheeseburger and try it, I would have lost my shit. And I'd be like, okay, everyone go fucking watch this podcast. It's the best podcast you'll ever go see.
There's a brewery in Effingham that used to use our strawberry vanilla rhubarb on a peanut butter and jelly burger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I haven't heard from them in a while, so I don't know if they still use our jelly, but I'm sure that they still do a peanut butter and jelly burger.
Smitty's the next Rogan. Just instead of weed, it's going to be jelly. So
there'll be weed there too.
Well, I think like, dude, that actually sounds like it'd be a good one. A THC jelly.
All right, so you're not the first person to suggest it.
Oh shit.
I'm not completely opposed to it. However, these are my qualms with that. One, my jelly is so good that you're going to get too high. So that's one issue with it. The other issue with it is just the I really play on the graces of my partner and her ability to help me do all the background stuff, and the regulation behind adding THC to a food product seems more than I could ask of her. So
Ooh.
Unless somebody wants to help me work out those regulations, I would be willing to do it, but it's not something I want to jump into.
Right. Casey's saying Smitty is the next Rogan. Hey, what the hell am I supposed to be then? Shit. Am I the next Joey Diaz, the next Tom Segura? I swear, if she says, what's his name? If she says I'm the next Alex Jones, I'm going to bash Taylor Swift for the rest of her life. That's a huge insult. Come on.
Man. Alex Jones is national treasure aside from the Sandy Hook thing.
I guess they auctioned off most of his shit because
but then they didn't.
Yeah,
the Onion bought it. The Onion bought it, but then they didn't buy it. I don't know. Yeah. I haven't heard the end of it because I seen that they were removing him from the facility, and then later that day there was a post or something where they're like, "We're not done yet," but then I also seen that the Onion was posting with InfoWars, so I don't know where all that's.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, let's see. It says here, judge orders new hearing in the Onion's bid to buy InfoWars. The Onion's bid to acquire InfoWars has gotten messy. So, are they trying to buy InfoWars, and are they going to mix InfoWars and Alex Jones in with the Onion? Because that would be too much, I think.
Well, so I've got some mixed feelings on Alex Jones. Have you listened to any of the Alex Jones interviews on Rogan?
Yes.
Part of me felt really bad for Alex Jones because it definitely seemed like Rogan and his friends were just trying to get him fucked up on alcohol and weed just to get him to say crazy things. But then they would sit there and fact check some of this shit, and like there's some truth behind Pizzagate. And I don't know how much truth, but it's not none. Or whenever he's like, Joe, they're turning the frogs gay.
No, I'm telling you, they're turning the frogs gay. I swear to God, they're using the magic of the 40 clover to turn the frogs gay. That is I do that a little too well. Holy shit.
But then it turns out that pesticides have
there were certain pesticides that turned the frogs gay.
That are turning frogs hermaphroditic. Yeah. So yeah, Alex Jones, I'm conflicted on him because he says ridiculous things, and some of them turn out to be false, but some of them turn out to be true. Like he's the one who called that there were billionaires that would have pedophile rings on islands in the Caribbean, and
then sure enough, you had
10 years later we've got Epstein as a major story.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's one of the problems with That's one of the things that needs to be protected with free speech is people saying ridiculous fucking things that make no sense.
I think he was fine up until he went after the whole Sandy Hook shit, which
I don't
apparently,
know
from
about
what I
fine.
understand,
He was ridiculed quite a bit.
he was
Before Sandy
ridiculed
Hook.
quite a bit, but he was stable when it came to
Legally
Sandy Hook.
fine.
Yeah, when it came to Sandy Hook, that's where he overstepped his boundaries, and that's where he got clapped by the government.
And everybody broke ties and created distance between them.
Well,
And that's unfortunate. I don't agree. I mean, I don't agree. I don't agree with his position on it, and
yeah,
and I hope that people get made whole. But it's yeah. Free speech is supposed to protect the things that you don't want to hear. That's what it's
right.
supposed to protect.
Well, the problem with what happened was he got so paranoid looking into things like conspiracies and whatnot. And what was that conspiracy about Vietnam where they wanted to start the Vietnamese, or no, they want to start the Cuban War with Cuba. He got so big into conspiracies and whatnot. Here came all these people talking about Sandy Hook, and he bought into it. And sure enough, next thing you know, he's going into it hardcore. The problem is that I find not everything's a conspiracy. That was 100% a tragedy. I was actually bawling the day I heard about that. And I'm somebody who owns firearms. I've grown up with firearms. I'm Army. I know how to work an AR-15. I love my AR-15. I want to go buy another one for sure. But even I was like, dude, that's too much. When you have little kids dying right before Christmas, that's too much.
Yeah. I don't know what the right answer is to solve mass shooting and the gun issue in America, but I will say that taking people's guns isn't a good answer. But I will also say that like mental health is a really big problem, and
yes,
and part of it, I mean, yeah, you're just a little bit older than me, but I'm not gonna lie, as I've gotten older, kind of appreciate bullies, right? My brother was your age and he picked on me all the time. Now, granted, my brother picked on me out of love, but I also understood that whenever he picked on me, it was kind of like, you got to thicken your skin. You can't let everything affect you on a personal level. Like you have to be able to create that barrier to protect yourself from the outside world to some degree. Now don't take it too far and shut yourself off from the outside world. But and I'm not condoning people being bullies. All I'm saying is we need to stop playing victim to get attention. And we also need to make sure that children have developed the emotional skills to make it in the real world, because I don't care who you are, once you turn 18, nobody give two fucks about you. Your boss doesn't care about you. Nobody. You got family. Family cares about you, and that's some people. Not everybody's family cares about them. But this is the thing. You got to make it in spite of all of that. And so having a thicker skin is a good thing.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not a psychologist here. I'm not going to play one on TV either. So don't take my words for it, but something needs to be fixed in our mental health systems for awareness, treatment, development, emotional security, things like that. And I think that will go a long way in solving issues where kids feel that their only option is to kill other people.
Yeah, it's the whole gun violence situation. It's very similar to the abortion debate because there's really no answer to either one. You can see both sides, but it's very hard, as somebody who's religious, I'm against it, but however, I'm against abortion, but also at the same time, I can't tell women what to do with their bodies. I can't tell people what to do. I mean, look at me. I smoke cigarettes and all that shit. You think I got a right to tell somebody what to do with their body? But it really is there so much to unpack there. Really is.
I mean, here I can give you a religious argument for it, which is, according to Christianity, God gave us free will so that we can make mistakes.
Yes.
And so if you want to take that into the question of abortion, look, we should not be dictating or legislating religion. I feel very strongly about not legislating religion. But the thing is we have the freedom. We need the freedom to make mistakes, because the only way we really learn is through mistakes. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not condoning egregious mistakes. If you say that your only option is to go kill a bunch of people, or your only option is to have an abortion, then I'm gonna facilitate the other side of that argument for sure, because I don't think it's an only option thing. But if it is your choice, it is your choice. And when you have freedom and you make choices, there are consequences to your actions. So no matter what it is, just because you have the freedom to do it does not mean you have freedom from consequences. That's
right. And the point I was trying to make is it's one of those things where it's like neither of them have like a right or wrong answer. It's just really difficult it's something that we need to sit down and have a conversation about. Not like well, it's not this, it's not that. No, America needs to sit down and have an honest, legit, logical conversation about how do you handle this,
Well, and what we need is more examples of people like me and you who can have this conversation in a respectful way.
Right.
Because role models, monkey see, monkey do is a real thing. And when people are exposed to when they disagree with somebody, they should react violently against it. And I don't mean violent as in physical, but just violent as in like of great force. But you don't have to react that way. One of the things that I was struggling with ideologically was a buddy of mine was like, there's a difference between reaction and response. I had no idea what the fuck he was talking about, and it took me a little while. But reaction is, when you go to the doctor and he smacks your knee with the hammer, that's a reaction. That's a reflex, but it's a reaction. Now, when have you seen Roadhouse?
Well, duh. I grew up in the 80s. Of course I did, yeah.
So when Dalton is telling all the bouncers, you be nice, and the one dude says, what if he calls my mama a whore? Is she? I love that line in that movie. But the point is that what Dalton was trying to tell them is that you do not react to the patron, behaving erroneously. You respond. You respond to it in the way that we've already designated. You respond to it. And the solution is you take it outside and you do not fight back.
Right.
And that's the difference between reaction and response. Is a reaction is your first thing that comes to mind. A response is realizing you don't have to do the first thing that comes to mind. You can take a step back and choose to do otherwise. And so that's part of our responsibility of having free will. Is if you want to defend free will, well, you have to take responsibility of free will, right? That's Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. Well, our free will is a great power, and we have to accept the responsibility of thinking about our actions before we do them.
Well, I got nothing else to talk about. I mean, it's going
That's
on
fair.
2 hours. I thought this was going to be just like a quick 45-minute interview, but
Oh man,
you
you should have talked to Casey about your expectations of this interview. Then
you almost passed Ray up. For Ray currently holds the longest interview. He had a 2.5 hours, and you almost held the longest down for 2 hours and 4 minutes. So maybe next time you're on, we'll get you in to replace Ray's record.
I can beat him. I could keep going. You're tired. Your fiance's yelling at you. You worked all day.
Yeah, I gotta go see what she's up to.
What do you do? Because you had mentioned that you were getting trucks ready.
I work at Reynolds in Jacksonville. We sell slider bags, and we were loading up trailers for the end of the day. And I had to load up a few extra that were going out to the Carolinas. I'm not sure. How do you pronounce that? Luann?
Luann? Yeah.
Yes, Luann Loving says, "Oh, Mike's always been a talker." Oh, well, we like talkers. We like having people talk on this show and whatnot. So next time you're on, I'm going to get a sample of your jam and jellies.
Absolutely. Don't wait. Get it for Thanksgiving. You live in Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
I guess
we just brought the app up. We just brought the map up. We'll have to check and see if it's at that. What was it?
Yeah, you could check in downtown. I don't think that they still have it because I haven't sold them any in a long time. But go to Harvest Market. Go to Harvest Market in Springfield. They'll have it for sure.
Okay, we'll go try and get there. So we'll get it from there. I just also want to point out that since you're a business owner, the Best Damn Podcast is looking for a sponsor.
I wish that I made that kind of money.
It's hard.
Go buy 2 jars and we'll talk about it. How about
that? I'll buy 2 jars then. All right, 2 jars. And if I buy 4, then we're really going to talk about it, right?
Yeah. So anytime I'm open.
All right.
I'm pretty. My schedule is pretty manageable. So anytime you want to have me on, just give me a call.
All right, sounds good. So, all right, guys. First and foremost, before you get out here tonight, if you want to buy any inspired they're both saying it's really good. You can go here on their official website. You can also find stores. The app is a little out of date. The store locator. I'm sure he'll have that updated soon. But if you want to get some of those jellies, you can get the Sinful Peach Habanero Jam or the Strawberry Habanero Jam, or what looks good to me, the Strawberry Vanilla Rhubarb Jam. You can go right there at firedupjnj.com and find a store near you, or maybe you can get in touch with him and he'll get some delivered to you. So, another thing too, if you want to listen to the Smitty Thinks He Knows podcast, it's on Spotify right now. I put up a long link earlier. I've got it condensed down. You can go right there at Spotify episode. Right, it's right there. His first episode is up. Analog Bob is the name of the first episode.
That's a friend of mine.
That's a friend of yours? Okay. Episode
he was concerned with having a digital footprint on the internet. So
okay.
So he went by Analog Bob.
Well, let me know when you want me on. I'll gladly come on as a guest on your show.
All right, sweet.
We'll have a good discussion and all that stuff, and I'll make sure my fiance knows I'm on the show as opposed to this. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you very much, Smitty. It's been great, Mike. Great to have you on. And we'll have to have you on for sure next time for another discussion.
Sweet. Thanks, Tyler. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. That's it for us. We will be back Wednesday at 7 p.m. for another edition of the Best Damn Podcast. We'll be doing Crazy World News. Am I the asshole? That's usually where somebody says yes, because I said that, and a whole lot more. So it'll be Brownout Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. So bring your alcohol to watch it. You can watch us on Spotify, on Facebook, YouTube, and we might have a new app coming soon if StreamYard can actually get it working. For the $50 I pay a month for StreamYard, better have it working. So, all right, guys. Mike, thanks a lot. Go get some rest. I gotta go see how the fiance is. You take her easy, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you Wednesday. So long, everybody.